Okay, we're on. We're going. We're good to go. It's that. It's big. It's big hip waving things. It's 24th of November every year at the end of November. There's a bunch of Year 12 kids who have just finished school and they're ready to get picked up in the draft, mate. Just 1998, Des Headlands was from WA and ended up at the Brisbane Lions. Roscoe, do you remember him?
I do. Des Headland, without the S, wore number 1. Yeah, he was our last number 1 pick we had. Yeah, played in the first premiership.
He actually missed 2001 and he played in the 2002 and then 2003 he went to Fremantle and he played around about he played a substantial amount of games. He wasn't like for a number 1 you'd expect more probably, 160 odd games, 1 premiership.
He certainly wasn't a standout in the team. And a very talented team.
Yeah, it was a talented team, that one. That's the hard thing, right? He picked up in 98 and then the Lions, they kind of hit their straps 2001 and he couldn't make the team. And even 2002, he missed the first 6 games, just looking at his bio. And then he ended up getting sent off. The trade table gets a bit anyway, he ended up getting sent out to WA, which makes sense because he's from Subiaco.
I remember he had his heart set on Fremantle as an 18-year-old, where before the draft he actually put on a Freo Guernsey.
Is that right?
Yeah, so to really indicate where he wanted to go.
And that's yeah.
But do you think he was a good You said he wasn't the best player, Roscoe, but was he worth it?
So, he was ideally a midfielder, but if you think about the Fab Four with Vossi, Black, Acker, what's his name? The other midfielder.
Black, Voss.
Matthew Lappin. Nigel Lappin, God. Couldn't think about it. And then we had plenty of guys sort of rotating into the midfield. So Des was always going to play sort of half back, half forward, rotating. He was never going to be kind of playing big minutes in the midfield. He was a good footballer, very talented. But it wasn't like a huge loss when he left. It effectively, if you've got a team with the talent density that we had during that period, so it wasn't. And we didn't feel any acrimony when he left. It didn't bother me like it did, for example, when other people have left. Frank Marcazzani, I still feel the effects of that, Walshy.
You mean Frank Marcazzani, the number 25 for Carlton, who took over Alex Jesaulenko's jumper, and people were saying that he didn't do it justice, really. I know Fev has, but Marcazzani, Acorn, I think we had another one. I think he was from Geelong originally, but we've had a few 25s that didn't really.
Yeah. I tell you, with players that leave your club, when you're a struggling team, you feel it more. So if you're having success and you're up and about, players move on. You understand it. Sometimes, often it's for because they take pay cuts or for whatever reason.
Yep.
But when you're a struggling team, you just hang on to. Hope is really important. You think family, all of those bonds, because they're really important, because often that's all you sell yourself is hope that your team's going to sort of get back up there. And so you actually feel it a lot more when you're down the bottom of the ladder. So I felt, say, a Doherty or the go home 5 for Brisbane, I felt that not hurt me, but I felt more frustration at those guys leaving than I did for, say, Des Headland, who was a servant for a while, and at the time he was able to be to be backfilled by someone else, not equally as talented, but the team itself was able to overcome that.
Lee Colbert, Lee Colbert. He was our captain. Did his knee, and then did a run. It was like, oh mate, yeah, prick.
Yeah. Well, going back, just the original, well, maybe not the original, but Nathan Buckley first went up to Brisbane, and he was the best kick in the competition at the stage. Like, as far as foot disposal goes, he went to Collingwood, and his role at Collingwood was to do the kicking out duties and then go and play on the ball. So he was literally he left Brisbane because he wanted to play in finals and premierships.
That's what they said.
He missed out on 3 playing. And he was in Mike Sheehan's top 50. All-time greatest players. And if he had played in that Brisbane unit, he may have ended up being, more like a top, like the top one. Do you know what I mean? Like, if he was around such. Like Collingwood, don't get me wrong, Collingwood's always been good. They made the grand final, but he would have played in premierships. What
did you get for Buckley? Like, was there a good player that you got? Like, when we got rid of Adderley?
I think it might have been draft picks. Was it draft picks and we got Simon Black or something? It may not. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
But I think Buckley always said to Brisbane, "If you draft me, I'll be here for the 1 year." So they knew that. Brisbane have got a track record of doing that. So even Doherty with Carlton, he said, "I'm going to, if you draft me, I'm going to go head to Melbourne." So they take the punt, right, that they can sort of have a culture that they'll stay. And sometimes it's worked, but most of the time it doesn't. So now Brisbane's strategy is absolutely around recruiting people who they believe can live away from home and are more resilient.
Did he tell them that? Did he say?
Yeah. Buckley was always only staying for a year. Yeah.
Really?
He was up front. He was, and he even showed disappointment in interviews. He was like, "I told them not to." He even said that. So, yeah,
wow.
Really that one.
Well, good on him.
It's almost poetic justice that he lost 2 grand finals to Brisbane.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how life gets you back, gents.
That's how life gets you back, and it does too, doesn't it? And
the
thing is that Jack. Just moving on to Jack Watts, 2008, Melbourne. This guy, he's a glamour type player, but he was always going to take a little bit to, because he's a tall guy, so he's going to take a little bit to. He wasn't going to be a 19-year-old sensation. He was always going to develop when he was 25, right? Which is sort of like around that age group now, the 25, 26, 27-year-olds. And now they're getting rid of him when he's at his best.
I think it's the hair. That's a bit like
that hair is... outrageous.
I'd love that hair, mate. I would love to have a little bit of that. I'd put a little bit of blonde in there, and I'd have a little cheeky grin like that as well. He was a Melbourne grammar boy. He's a well-educated... he fit into that Melbourne culture of being from private school in that part of Melbourne. I don't think they did the right thing by letting him go. And also, he can kick the ball. He's got that delicate touch. I think they're going to miss Jack Watts. I think that was a wrong move to let their star number one move. I think that number one players should stay with that club. They should become lifetime players. Someone like Jack Watts, he should be a lifelong Melbourne player. Gee, that wasn't bad. Is that Jack Watts?
I don't know. What's going on?
I think that looks more like that Logan guy. That guy who's on all those Instagram. I think that's that guy, isn't it?
I don't know. Someone's popped in there. I just like this one here.
Okay, and just on that, tall blokes. Drafting tall blokes, I've got a theory on this. If you've got a champion tall bloke, North Melbourne have got the Goldstein, right? And now Goldstein has probably got 1 or 2 years left, and there's
what happened to him? He was the number one. He was a dominator. Yeah, what happened? So
my theory is, if you've got the dominator like Max Gawn and these type of players when they're at their peak.
Yep.
That's when you've got to pick up a rookie then, because the guy at his peak might have 2 or 3 years left in him, and you need that sort of 2 year space for the rookie to be able to develop himself, because you can't put him in as an 18-year-old in the ruck. 18-year-old ruckmen just get crunched. They get hurt. So you got to give them more time. So, and not just one. I reckon if you've got a Max Gawn, Melbourne should go for 2 or 3, like big guys, and you can expect one of them to be good. You know what I mean? And it's such an important position, the ruck, and you might have to burn 1 or 2 trades. You know what I mean? Like out of the 3, one of them's going to be a guaranteed if you put them through the system. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who Melbourne pick up. Also, Geelong, you've had Mummy. You gave away Mummy. That was an interesting one.
We couldn't keep him. We bloody had Mark Blake. St Kilda nearly took Mark Blake off our hands, and we would have kept Stephen King. He would have retired. We might have been able to keep Mumford, but
yeah, that's
Mark Blake.
They took Kingy instead of Blake. Well, Blake is a good tap ruckman, but jeez, Mark Blake.
Yeah, Kingy and Blake had that ongoing feud. In fact, it got pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, King's brother. It was in the news. It was I think they had a bit of a Twitter or some other social media fight. Although Blake played in a premiership, didn't he?
He did.
Played in one of them.
2009.
Yeah.
I remember when we lost.
Yeah.
I remember in 2008. After we lost, I was in Richmond. I didn't go to the game, but I was in Richmond and we were walking down the street, had a kebab, or had a souvlaki on Swan Street there, and someone comes up and goes, "You're disappointed? Imagine being Mark Blake," because he'd missed out the year before, didn't make the flag, and he's like, "Imagine being Mark." I went, "That's it. That's a nice way to actually make me feel that a little bit better."
Well, imagine being Cameron Cloak. Santo helping gives you a sneak go. King hit in a practice match.
And then kicked him out.
Right, yeah. And kicked him right in the coit. Coitus rebacchus.
They keep him because he's got a little bit of X factor, but he was pretty clumsy. They keep him, drop you. You end up playing in friggin' Bedford or somewhere out in the country league, and he gets then drafted to GWS. And plays one game, does his knee, and that's the end of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Quintana, I remember.
All right, I got another one for you here, boys. Patrick Dangerfield went at number 10 and he is clearly the best player that we've probably witnessed playing the game. This bloke he's got everything, right? And he went at number 10.
Did you say he's the greatest player to ever play the game of AFL?
Oh!
In our competition now, like you've got your Gary Ablett's Jr., you've got your Dustin Martin, which, look, don't get me wrong, everyone's on the Dusty train with the Richmond train, but he is not as good. I don't think he is anywhere good.
I don't know. I still like Gary Ablett Jr. in that 3-year period. I don't know. I'd take him over Danger. Not saying that Danger, another year of being at the top, but Gary during that period, mate, he was banking him in for Supercoach, Dream Team. He was able to win games. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah. You're talking apples and oranges when you're talking Ablett and Dangerfield, but my opinion is it's Dangerfield is better, only because Ablett is do you know what he is? He's like Mitchell for Hawthorn. These little handballs and little. Hey, give it to me and I'll give it back to you. Okay, pass to me. Back when I was in under 13s, I used to go around to everybody on the bench before the game and say, "Look for me and I'll look for you." Sweet, mate. And I'd tap on the back, and then I'd go to the next bloke. "Hey, look for me and I'll look for you," to make sure that everybody, in the team was looking for me when I got out there. I had the other 17 blokes on the ground all looking for me.
You're right. Gary Ablett doesn't do that. Doesn't tug it under the arm and I'll take you on. Give it to you. Give it back to me.
Yeah. Hey, I'll give it to you, but you give it back.
Yeah, 1-2. Give me the 1-2, boys.
Yeah. Look for me, mate.
So you've identified something with Gary Ablett, Walshy, from a psychological perspective that you see in yourself.
All I'm saying is that he's a little give me the ball and I'll give it to you guy. And I didn't want to get in there and get the hard stuff. I wanted to get the little hands. I was always hands. Hey, I'm out here.
What about the bloke from Freo? Last year he was injured, but the year before, or the 2 years before, yeah. I reckon this year he's going to. I still think Dangerfield's the best player in the league at the moment, but I reckon he's going to have a bumper year.
Well, Fifey was in a
6'4".
final. He was running around with a broken leg, and the coach might have said, "Mate, do you want to come off and have a spell?" Mate, you've got a broken leg. It might be time to give some of the other blokes a run. I never did that, by the way. Talking about having a run and look for me, I'll look for you. If I broke my leg, that would have been like, yeah, I'm ready. Get more than the ice. Get the ambulance, mate. This bloke, he is a champion, definitely.
So do you remember Phil Walsh passed? He was murdered, obviously, by his son. But there was a game, Phil Walsh and it was the Crows versus Freo. They let Paddy Dangerfield and Fife play off each other without doing a tag. And go and watch that game. It's one of the great games of footy, all-out attacking footy from the Crows and Freo. And they both of them get 35 odd possessions each. So it would have been 2015 or something like that.
50. I was going to ask.
Well, yeah, it was the year Phil Walsh passed away. There was a game where they just said, "Okay, we're going to let you go." They didn't obviously have an agreement, but they just didn't tag them, and the two of them went at it.
Mate, back in 1980, 1981, Ricky Barham, Michael Turner used to run.
Ricky Racehorse.
Yeah, they used to run to each other on the wing and give each other a high five like this on the wing, and then run off each other and play 30 metres apart from each other. And
the whole day.
None of them were accountable for the other one, but they looked really good at the start. It was like a contest is on. You might remember that in your younger years, TD. I don't know. You might have remembered.
I know Michael Turner. Who was the other dude?
Ricky Barham, Racehorse.
Ricky Racehorse.
Played for
Collingwood. He wore number 43, and then it changed to number 1. And he was
number 1.
Good skills, and played in the 1979, 80, 81 grand final, and 77 as well with the replay. Probably one of Collingwood's best wingmen.
Yeah. Look, growing up in the Fitzroy Collingwood area at that time was 80% of the population barracking for Collingwood, so I was constantly surrounded by them. Ricky Barham was up there with Rene Kink and Peter McKenna. They were just Ricky Racehorse, mate.
Yeah, Ronnie Weirmouth. Ronnie Weirmouth.
Number 5.
Remember him?
Yeah.
And of course, Tank O'Donoghue, as you said, Kinky. Tank
Tank.
I'll
see you at the game.
Yeah, he knew how to play. Look, just I want to touch on Mark Murphy. Played for Carlton since 2005. Dad was a Fitzroy player. Father, son. So
Fitzroy legend.
Yeah, so there's a lot of we've got Silvani coming through. Then there's going to be another Silvani. You've got Alex Silvani. Mate, Carlton are like the Chappell brothers when it comes to Silvanis. They're everywhere, right? Now, Mark Murphy's dad was a Fitzroy champion.
Right.
In the 70s.
Yep.
Ends up at Carlton.
Yeah.
That must be frustrating to see. Of course, Hawthorn are famous for the Kennedy. Kennedy plays for the Swans. But
but he actually played for Hawthorn, Kennedy, and they didn't give him Hawthorn didn't give him a go, so he made the decision. Whereas Mark Murphy, he let Brisbane know that he didn't want to do father-son prior. Spoke to his dad. It's interesting. Like a lot of ex-Fitzroy people, there's two types, right? There's probably 3 types. There's probably many types, but there are the ones who absolutely connect Fitzroy with Brisbane, and you feel like it's the same club. It was just a new, the genesis or a reincarnation or a continuation. But then there are others who believe that the club died in 94 or 5 or whatever it was. And I think Mark Murphy's dad, when in the conversations, he was pretty honest with Mark around that, and he chose Melbourne and life here. I think it wasn't as harrowing or as difficult to take. You know what you feel, Walshy? I kind of I don't rate Mark Murphy as a footballer that much. I don't find him to be. I don't think he's A grade. So maybe I've just conditioned myself to not feel upset about it and not rate him. But I don't rate Mark Murphy.
I rate his wife, Jessie Hanneman. She's
that got the North Melbourne team in a lot of trouble, mate.
She's pretty hot with the Wayne Carey scandal come out last year.
It was St Kilda that got in trouble.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, they taunted him with the the
allegations about the King Carey.
Yeah, the King Carey, and that almost ended up in an all-in brawl. And anyway, that's football. That's what's said on the ground should be left on the ground, and sledging, that should be part of it. If he doesn't know how to, I reckon. But then a lot of people say that you should leave the family or illness should be left out of the sledge. I don't know.
Yeah. That's an impressive dress.
She's amazing. She's a really hot one. But I know you're not a fan of Mark Murphy, but keep in mind that he has been in a bottom team, and he's been. A lot of people think that he doesn't get the hard ball. That he's a bit like me. Pass it to me, and I'll give it to me, and I'll like that sort of stuff. Like look for me, mate. If I'm open, look for me. Those ones. But he's definitely got a lot of polish, and he can definitely finish off well. He can kick goals. Yeah, I'm okay with Murphy. I think he's all right as Carlton's captain. I've never had an issue with him being Carlton's captain, and I reckon it's great that we picked him up in 2005.
You've got about just under a minute.
So, and we lost Bryce Gibbs, who was our 2004.
Gibbs. So we want to talk about Gibbs in the next segment?
Yeah, maybe Gibbs, and then there's also Cruiser as well. So we had 3 number 1 choices who haven't really taken us to anywhere. Well, we got to a final in 2013, but we haven't really used the benefit of the draft. And
who beat you in that final in 2013?
Swans beat us.
It wasn't the Brisbane Lions? Oh, when did the Brisbane Lions beat you? That game where we kicked 4 in the last quarter. Was that 2009? I think that was our last final series. And
look, we haven't really done too much in recent years. So we've had all these number 1 draft picks, but they haven't come to fruition at all.
Fruition.
They haven't come to fruition.
It's easy for you to say. Fruition, I love that. I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to pull that out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the celebration party.
I want to talk about. I also want to talk about in the next one.
Fruition.